Hi, welcome to the Plaster podcast. In this first episode, I hang out with 10th Planet Jiu Jitsu black belts Brandon McCaghren and Eddy after a combat Jiu Jitsu Worlds tournament held in Los Angeles, California. I love both of these guys, very knowledgeable in their craft and really interesting personalities. About halfway through this podcast, I run out of video, so instead of showing you black, I'm gonna put a little edit of the things I've been shooting around town around that time. I hope you enjoy Brandon McCaghren and Eddy.
We're trying, because I think us as the new generation, we're trying to find new lines. Like, those were the lines that they found. We're trying to find new ones. You know, like that. So Eddy's line is sweep, pass the arm triangle, put you out. You know, like he's got a solid line right there. Okay, that's a solid game anyone could take and play. And then other people have these other lines. They've got these lines that, you know, if that's your one path, that's going to generally work a certain amount for a certain amount of the percentage. And so I think there are these lines in jiu-jitsu, and I guess for us here, we're looking at the new lines. We're trying to figure out what's a new line that actually finally stands up, a new game that's consistent all the way through. Because for example, there's a leg lock line that was added, and that had a good consistent game. You can sit right now, it's a good consistent game. You can sit, be a leg locker only. You're the best leg locker in the world. You could sit, and that could be it. That's a game. That's one structured game.
Yep.
That's like, so these are like possible games that are like, you know, like rock paper scissors cards, in the sense of they're a full game. They tell you everything you should do if you're one of these characters, you know. I think that's what we're figuring out, is different of those kinds of lines. And then, because then eventually some new move or some new line breaks the other ones, and that's kind of the game.
Yeah. And then every
like
now
leg
and
locks
then,
broke a lot of the other games that were perfect.
well, leg
until
locks changed jiu-jitsu forever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it wasn't, people are like, oh, the leg lock fad, but it changed the structure of the game.
Yes.
Like, deep half was a fad.
Yeah.
Deep half, and it, you know, people have kept deep half, and you have to have a bit of knowledge about it to hit the black belt
It just works
level.
that position.
But, you know, for a while, deep half was everything on the competition scene, and then it faded and turned into the 50-50.
Things broke it.
Right, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then the Berimbolo, and then now that you've seen, that has already faded away. Not away, but
they've all become. They're all getting like contained as little fragments. It's like what gets like shaved off.
But the leg locks.
Yeah. Well, that was a
changed the whole structure of the game.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll never be able to get to black belt again without being good at leg locks.
And I think that
you could have done that in the past.
Yeah.
But that'll never be a thing that you can still get there by not understanding or playing deep half.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or not doing a berimbolo.
All these others are still fragments.
So readily available.
Legs are just, it's amazing that there was that big, like half the body, like they say. It was amazing that half the body we were doing heel hooks. It just, the certain mechanical changes that happened. The study
had not been done properly.
It's a huge game changer.
Yeah.
And so that will forever be the same. Yeah, for sure. I don't think jiu-jitsu can change that much more than that. There's a couple big changes I think that are still coming, but that's definitely one of the biggest changes. That will be. But there's some big changes still coming for jiu-jitsu, I feel like.
Oh, it's never going to stop evolving. It never will.
It's going to look a lot different, I think, than now. It's going to get a lot more. People are going to get way better at movement. You know, like look at the way that I got heel hooked like that. That's just a movement. That's a good jump that you
he
can
threw
just
it
hit
in every
any
match
time.
he was in.
Yeah. And so, and there's a lot of ways. Like when I'm standing now, I turn and roll. You can berimbolo from everywhere. You can just start rolling, and you could, like, I think movement could really, like, people could be a lot more different with moving once you get more sway and movie and flowy.
Yeah.
And
So
stuff,
this is what I was saying about the truck position. I want to have a class designed on finding it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And so stuff like getting people used to. But I just mean, like, even at the higher levels.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like, it could start looking way more flowy and dancey. And
I hope so.
You know?
I think that's better.
Yeah.
artsy with my jiu-jitsu, but I think that's better jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know? But on the other hand, almost all of the greats, all of the greats are what you said. They are a very...
They got one DNA.
This is Marcelo's game. And Marcelo added new game as he got older.
Yeah.
But he added another line.
Yeah.
And Eddy has... All these guys have... But every now and then, dude, you'll see a guy rise like a Hodger Gracie. He had lines, but he did everything.
Right.
He did everything well. Everything he did it better than you.
Yeah.
But he was a reactive player.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. So he had one, then that's the main
it's
initial
really interesting,
code. That's the main initial code. Is are you, because those are 2 data points, is are you going to push the pace?
Are you proactive or reactive?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm very much reactive, for sure.
Yeah,
like, I'm almost exclusively reactive.
Yeah, me too.
You know, to a detriment.
It's like, I feel like I'm leaning on the reaction. You know, like I'm just gonna put weight into. So I'm kind of moving forward. I'm putting weight on it. So if I can go, then okay, I'll keep going. But it's a very like if I get resistance, okay, I'll go that right. Like it's like I'm leaning on a wall that's pushing into me or something.
Yes.
You know, like
so we what we talk about at the gym. I talk about the art of moving forward without moving forward.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So in Tai Chi, there's a principle. I learned this in a Tai Chi essay.
Yeah.
Right. But it's if my opponent does not move, I do not move.
Right.
At my opponent's slightest movement, I move first.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to achieve.
Yes, right. But without thinking about, without making the thought to, because I think that messes up your head in the sense of people think, okay, I'm watching and he's gonna move, and now I'm gonna,
no,
you know, because I know
that's
beginners will think, but
that's the connection.
When we're like leaning in, like, because it has to just happen that we're following, you know, if we're really trying to follow, so. But I think it's just like, I think you keep tension. Once you have tension, then you just let them make the choices in the sense that they're gonna always take. There's always like tension and then 2 ways. There's like 2 sides on every position, but there's somebody that's ahead of the momentum. You know, there's somebody that the other person's reacting to at this point, and that's always the spot you want to get to, is where they're reacting to you. Like you got it, and now they're reacting.
Now it has flipped.
You're pushing the momentum. And it's like, no matter where it goes, even if it looks kind of a little bit bad for you, if you still have actually the momentum, you're ahead. You're ahead. Their weight is reacting to you. You know.
Yes.
And that's where we're trying to
balance, weight distribution, leverage.
You actually want to hold the wall. You know, if you can hold the wall, and then you have momentum. You're cradling, you're moving with it and stuff. But if the wall's pushing you and now you're trying to catch up, and now you're behind them,
crushed.
And that's the initial part. That's the initial game, is who gets ahead of the momentum.
I think of it like a wave.
Yeah.
So like my passing, for instance, I want to be destructive and brutal and murderous, but you can never find me at the same time.
Right.
You know, like how do I grab Jesus?
Right.
And now I'm sitting on your head.
Right.
You know?
Right. Because it's a roll.
Yeah.
It's we really are rolling. I like to think of us a lot more as fishes, and also like our breathing and like air. I try and think of it as like we're underwater, because that helps me with like when you're letting out air, and you think about that as like sinking. And so you'd be sinking, you'd be kind of focusing. Your exhale lets you focus, like these little bloop, bloop, bloop. And so that means you're going down, and that means you're like kind of focusing. And naturally we're bringing down our oxygen levels. We're actually like sinking, like as if we're in an oxygen tank, you know. And that's actually how that really works with exhaling. Like the more you drop into your exhale, and the longer you make your breaths, the more you drop into your sympathetic nervous system, then that means you're really actually calming yourself down. That means you're focusing. You know, whereas if you're breathing in more oxygen, then now you're heightening yourself up. What are you doing? You got activity, or are we doing something? Are we going somewhere? You know, and so now that puts your brain into another mode based off those 2 breathing ways. So it's it's fishes. That's what we're talking about. But that helps think about it like water in that sense, because naturally you raise your oxygen levels and you're going up and in the water, you know. And this really is just a gas. It's just air is just a different gas other than water. You know, so we kind of are still fishes.
That's great. I never thought about being a fish before.
It helps my breath in the sense when I was really getting into this, and like now that I understand like calming down the breath, like I can go to sleep about it so much better because I think us people that we think a lot, and we can like think about these problems, all these things we're talking about forever and ever. I don't know. I have a hard time sometimes going to sleep some nights because when you really start getting that easy with your breath, it's a good point at that point to focus. So you end up focusing and thinking about all kinds of tasks, things ahead, and that's why that works, because your breathing is slowing down. So right before that barrier in between actually falling asleep and turning off and still being awake, that barrier is your focus levels have increased. That's why it's so hard for us thinkers and us dreamers, I think, to turn off at that sleeping point, unless we're just dead tired, we really worked our bodies hard. But if we haven't, then our minds at that point, right to going to sleep, it's because you're so focused because you've dropped your oxygen levels so low, you know. And so it's like modulating your oxygen levels is literally how we modulate our focus levels, I think.
Interesting. The breath is crazy.
Yeah.
That when I first started training, but I've probably been going 2 or 3 years, and I learned that kind of breathing trick, you know, like where they're that thing.
Yeah.
And I swear my cardio increased like 70% over the course of like 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh my
amazing.
gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's why I was even able to roll or like be able to be okay there, even though I hadn't been rolled in like a month, was because I just worked my breathing super hard. And man, if you just really work your breathing hard, you're moving. That's it. That's a workout. You don't have, of course, the resistance and the.
It's a different kind of workout.
Of course, it's
it's
not great. But it's like, but my lungs are still good. Like I know my lungs can take a load. Basically, you're still working your lung system like heavy, and you're figuring out really how to, you know. I think we really think about, okay, if you get gassed, how do you really get your oxygen back? What's the best way? How do I get back from feeling like tired now, you know, with breathing? And so if you're actually playing with that a lot, you really learn.
Have you taught breathing on camera?
Yeah, I teach at all my seminars. I teach breathing, but I haven't taught a lot more.
There's like so many different types of breath.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still need to learn a lot more, really.
I'll show the guys at the gym, but I think there's people that know so much more than me than I'm not.
Yeah. It's either fast exhale or fast inhale. Yeah. And those are the two systems. That's why I teach, those are just the two basic ones I teach people at the start of seminars. Breath of fire is the out, and Wim Hof is the in. Mm-hmm. And so if
they do two different things.
Yes, exactly. And so then I teach them about how this will drop your oxygen levels, this will raise your oxygen levels.
Wim Hof just took one side of the breath for himself.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
That's all right. Hickson took the other one. I've heard it called the Hickson breathing before.
I'm going to start calling it fire and ice.
Oh,
and I had just thought about that. I was like, damn, dude, that's fucking perfect. Because it's Wim Hof, the Iceman, and so the bottom, and that's how it actually works in your body. The fire one really gets you hot, gets you warm. It's the fire breath. And the ice one, you're bringing all this oxygen in. It's going to cool you down. It's going to air you up. It's going to get you ready for it's Wim Hof one. Fire and ice is going to be able to push those two breathings a lot. And when people start playing with those, I get the most feedback on that. People really say that, man, that really changed me when I started playing with this fire and ice. When I started playing with this breath of fire, and then also the Wim Hof. And it's changed me the most. That breathing, just those two back and forth in my meditations and after class. It's changed me so much. But it's just...
Yeah, man, crazy stuff.
But the only thing that we are going to have to... That is going to be very crazy for our culture is to drop more back into its body. In the sense of, like, a lot of these people are going to have to get more... You know, like, kind of what we've gone through with Jiu Jitsu of dropping that heavy into our bodies. Like, they haven't done any of that, you know? And so, like, more spiritually...
Yeah, he's not even talking about fitness. He's talking, like...
But that's where
using the body.
Yeah,
like
and just
learning to use the
breathing and your mental and your meditation and just getting to be okay with yourself and the fact you're going to die.
That's been a big thing for me. Y'all know who that dude Ido Portal? You know that name?
Yeah.
So like I don't do any of that stuff, but I was really like I can't move like that. I was broken a long time ago, right? Yeah. But I'm so inspired by the way he talks about movement. I don't want to do those movements necessarily. I'll hear you and I'll try to figure out my own movements that my body's asking for, but and mine's in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
But man, to hear him talk about you can move, that's gonna go away. You've got to keep that and search it out and see. Like, it just opens your mind to so many more things once you know how to move your body and how to study the minutia.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so great about yoga, man. It's the
movement's been super interesting to me. It's been one of my favorite paths lately.
My favorite part of martial arts is just the stretching.
Stretching?
Yeah,
Nice.
I just like to stretch.
Nice.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just I'm not that I'm even that flexible. I'm just like normal flexible.
You should try and see. You should try and see if there's a good Ashtanga yoga place near you.
Bro, there's not a good yoga place near me.
Damn.
We have
this
a
style
bar
It's
yoga.
to hire a yogi to come over.
I would have to find some. Yeah, well, that's the way we have to bring in everything. I had to come out here and get jiu-jitsu and take it home.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, it's crazy. Same thing. Somebody's going to have to do that with yoga. It probably won't be me.
I think we're eventually going to adopt it. It's going to look like one thing, like from basic movement all the way up to advanced like sport level movement. But it's just going to be a movement chart, and it's going to be a body understanding chart, and you're going to have a level system for not just a sport. You're going to have a level system for knowing your body. Like, imagine even adapting that kind of a course for kids, and like, oh, this is a side of this is your body school, and it's 2 hours a day. And you're going to start it at 6, and this is where you're going to take your kid's body to 18. And we're going to run them through all these different movement understandings.
I got a jiu-jitsu question for you guys. If you had to break the truck down into 8 classes, what 8 topics would you choose? You got to teach the fullness of the truck. Like, not every move, but the fullness of the philosophy of it.
Okay.
In 8 classes.
How long are the classes?
Hour. They're
Based on
teaching
top of
plus
the
their
person.
drilling. It's going to take an hour.
Just twister side control alone is like, it's more than one class.
You think that's the most important control to learn for the truck, or do you think it should be best?
For me, it is.
Should it be best
Yeah, you'd start
educated from the back?
I always go. I never really learned.
I see that as a trick.
I go.
I see that as a second option.
I do too. That's interesting to hear you guys say that. I usually hear the opposite from people.
Well, it's the easiest to understand.
Most people
Twister,
think
yeah.
about it from the back,
It's
but
the easiest
I
side.
always hit it from twister side. Not always, but that's
And just
by far.
going into twister side and being able to surf on the person.
And conceptually, I think you just start with a start, which is twister side, and so that's the first class because that sets what you're going to talk about. It sets the
Wait,
topic,
let me give it to you. So I got to put together a flow
Yeah.
that they're going to do 200 times in the course of the month.
Okay.
This particular flow, but the flow is going to teach the truck.
Okay.
This is what I'm doing with all my courses, with all my curriculum now. I'm doing the truck next month. So I just haven't got it fully mapped out yet. I haven't written it all down on paper yet.
Just a twister side and then have the bottom guy pop up to his knees and then sit back from there.
Okay.
We're just going to basically teach twister side for like the philosophy of it, how kind of entering, kind of keeping how to maintain it. You're going to try and cover twister side in one class, and then within the next class you're going to do twister side again, actually, because you're going to be entering, so you'll get to review a little bit of the twister side while you're showing the entering, and then the next one's okay, now we're actually in the truck, and now we're in the truck, and then you start. Now it's how much of this ending do I want to break up, basically.
Yeah.
You know, how deep do I want to go into certain finishes.
Or then we move on to the next class. Now we understand the truck as it relates to side control now.
Yeah.
Here's how the truck relates to the back.
I think I'd
And now we
end with
spend
the
a
back.
day-
Like you're killing truck, you're killing zone, or twister, and then now you showed basically everything, and now you go, okay, but also now here we're in the back, and now you need to know, look, the truck's here too. So the truck's from the twister side.
I was thinking
and
too,
the truck's in the back.
I
and
want a
just show
class
that right
on
there.
finding the truck in space.
Yeah.
You know,
nice.
like, oh, there's the truck. You know how it
Yeah.
just comes up something like.
Yes.
That's where the rolling takes.
Yes.
Is sort of the introduction to that.
Yeah.
So like to roll without the grapevine is kind of the introduction to that idea.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Right?
good.
Would that be a good way to introduce that idea? Look, we're gonna
like
we're gonna do the twister roll from twister side control, but you're not allowed to make the hooks and the grips, but you still got to land it.
Okay.
To teach the idea.
Yeah.
With the hook.
Does that make sense? Or from a bear, like you got to find it. That's how you find it off a berimbolo, right?
Yeah,
Is you
yeah.
find it
Yeah.
in these movements, like So it's the truck in space, like, right? How do you find it?
So
Not
you
in
want them to
space,
try
but like
that?
in this, yeah.
So you just teach generally entering the truck a little bit, and then you'd say, okay, now try and find it.
Yeah, something like that. They definitely will spend time with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm putting together a flow that, this is the flow we're going to do 200 times. This is what it is right now. We start with the twister pass. We step to twister side control. We lock up a grapevine.
Yeah.
And then we don't do the fishnet. Even though that's the best way to do it, we don't do it because I want them to learn to make that roll a little more loose so that they can have a better chance of finding it later. Because if you can only do it while it's clenched, that's a higher level. We have to kind of be base here first. This is the way I feel it.
Yeah, it's easier to start easy.
Yeah. Now, the other guy flips the truck on you. So we add that skill 200 times. He flips the truck. He touches the crotch ripper banana split series. Neither one of them tap. Guy brings his hand in, and we go to the new 3. And that's where we finish. So that's the flow that I'm going to do. Over the course of 8 classes, I ask them for 25 reps on that. Easy.
Yeah.
By the end of the month, I just come in and go, hey guys, we run the flow. I don't even have to teach. The first 20 minutes of class are done, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's done right.
Yeah, good drills.
Yeah, so, but put the flow together to teach the specific skills, so it has to be thought. I'm trying to think of it in that way.
Right.
So
Not
now I
just
need
like a
7
general
more
drill,
classes.
but like drilling down a line of a certain subject. Yeah, good.
So that's the way I'm structuring all my every month in my gym now. So like last month was deep half, the month before was mount, month before was back, outside heel hook system, inside heel hook system. That's the ones I've got installed so far.
Nice. So is that takes up the whole class, or does the drilling part take up the whole class?
No, that's the warm up. So I'm using Eddy's warm up idea. Right. Like this is what this is, just kind of like how you're trying to teach it. This is how I feel like is going to be best practice for me.
Right.
But it's it's just Eddy's warm up idea.
This is like the wall but extended.
Yeah,
it's like
sorta.
The idea is like it's
subjected. It's subjected.
Yeah, we're going to the wall, and now we're going to spend a month.
Yeah.
Here talking about this subject. So, but I choose it based on a subject.
Yeah, it's just
like
subject.
A larger subject.
Instead of being like Eddy has mixed up all the subjects.
Yes.
You're putting the subjects together.
Yeah.
So you're making just the opposite version of Eddy's. You're using all of Eddy's same stuff, but you're branching out the topic to 2 weeks instead of 1 day.
Yeah, you're segmenting.
Yeah. So I got 7 classes left. So first class I install the flow. Now I got 7 left. And then the last week is about defense on the same idea. I wait until the last week to do defense because if you teach defense early, then nobody ever adds the skill because everybody's just shutting it down too early. Right? But we give them all 3 weeks to sharpen a bit of their offense and then teach them some defense. And now you've got to play in the gym.
Yes.
And do you teach the guy on defense? It's super important to get those reps in the defense, like so that the person attacking does the proper movement. Like I see so many times, like people are just kind of like whatever, like they aren't doing the reactions right. So you gotta teach the reaction.
I don't necessarily believe in right and wrong in jiu-jitsu.
Well, I mean by right, I mean like it's hard for the person attacking to get that many reps in. Well, like perfect.
Oh, I see what during the drilling because he's not giving the prop. Yeah, you have to educate the guy
so you do that
on the other side
time.
of the drill. I'm giving. Yeah, they're both got a job.
Yeah. Okay.
Like if you don't do this, then I'm not doing this move. I'll do a different move. That's why I don't think it's ever right for me to play offense. I'm always reacting. Everything's a reaction. Like the punch, I don't throw the punch throws itself. Right?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Triggered.
Yeah, so you can't drill unless both guys understand where we're going. So we have to learn it at the same time. So the drills, I'm trying to build them in such a way that each guy has to add a skill to pull this off. So like, for instance, the deep half guard we did last month, the flow was we entered, he tries to mount, we shut it down, pop, we slide into the deep half. From the deep half, the first 2 sweeps are almost always, 80% of the time I sweep people because they either fall this way or they put their hands on the mat and I bump them out and I take the single on the back door, right? So that's the Pareto's law. That's the 80-20. That's the second class. We install the flow in the first class. The second class, we deal with the 80-20 Like here's what you're almost always going to see when you get to this
Yeah.
position, right? So you spend 20% of your techniques to produce 80% of your results from here. That's what we talk about in class number 2. Does that make sense? So that's why I need that on the truck. What's the 80-20 on the truck? So I need that class. You know, so that's how I put my curriculum together. But we chose the waiter sweep instead of those positions. Why the waiter sweep instead of those 2 sweeps that you're going to get the 80-20 on? Because the top guy doesn't have to build a skill. He just gets up here and falls this way or falls this way. He has to do the wrong thing. In order for me to learn the waiter sweep, you have to do the right thing. You have to learn to surf.
Yeah.
And if you can't surf, then I don't ever have to go to the 3rd sweep.
Yeah.
So that's the one we put the flow in. Both guys have to improve dramatically in order to have 200 reps on this.
Nice. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's,
And
it's
so
a
I'm,
good position for both people to get work on.
Yeah.
I like somebody working on my DPAF as a top guy, as a partner, because I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and we get to learn here.
I'll work on my
we
hips
can play.
and my hips.
And you
for a while.
learn so much about jiu-jitsu
I
for the
always let
DPAF,
myself
man.
learn
I love the DPAF.
as a partner. I almost learn the most while they're doing moves on me. You know?
Yes.
I'm always feeling
The
and like
punch
turning
throws
against
itself,
and,
bro.
like,
I'm telling you, man. It's
yeah.
all back to what Bruce Lee was talking
Yeah,
about.
I usually just tell people, you try stuff on me. No, you just try it because I need to just feel.
Yeah. I need you to play offense in order to do my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
If you don't play offense, I can't really do what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's why it's still being like a student and like sitting
not
and like
fun.
actually drilling the stuff that's taught and not just like, it's like, and I still learn so much from that in the sense of when I have the partner do stuff, him do it like what I just try to do, and I get to feel him do it, and I really feel it like that's the biggest way we learn the most.
I agree.
It's amazing.
That's what I'm doing for every month now. So like if we take the back position, I'm putting the curriculum together
Yeah.
with the flow thought about that way. Like what's the 80-20 on the back? Okay. Then what's outside of that 80-20? What's actually going to build the most skill for both guys? Let's put that move in. So the 3rd movement is how I choose the flow. So I need a flow.
Yeah.
What's the 80-20? What's the next step beyond the 80-20? That's how I build the flow.
Nice. Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Smart.
It's working really good too. Like, it's working really good. The students are learning ultra fast.
Nice.
Yeah, you're pretty much just putting like weapons in their pocket immediately to use, and then whatever they naturally gravitate towards, they'll start developing deeper on that path, but they have a really well-rounded base.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to put it all together in such a way that it almost doesn't matter what moves that you want to do from here. You're going to pick up the ideas of jiu-jitsu. So, okay, we're going to learn the back. We're studying the back, we're studying the deep half this month. Okay, great. You're going to install that skill, but all of your jiu-jitsu is going to get better because of the way that we disseminated the information. Does that make sense? So, just trying to have a better academy for learning jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's cool. It's me really interesting to watch how teaching develops. I think that's the most interesting part about our sport.
Well, that's the part that I'm most passionate about there.
Yeah, teaching's interesting. Dude.
Yeah.
It's super interesting.
I've been a really good teacher up to this point. I do think I've tried hard, so that's really like the only path for success for me, right? It's not going to be on the competition stage.
Yeah.
So it's even more incentive to get good at it. I like it, and it's
Yeah.
my only way to get good, to win. So, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I'm really putting a lot of more emphasis now on being a coach too, which I've never been a coach before.
Yeah.
I've always just been pushing how do I get the information out best?
Right.
You know, in a way that helps you understand the art of it better.
Yeah.
But I want to also do a better job, put a lot of attention on, okay, those of you that want to compete, let me make how do I really help all of you guys the best?
Yeah, it's interesting. You have the general approach, and then you have the couple subjects, and then there's so many relationships and so many things that develop. And teaching is really interesting. Like I just thought, if I'm going to be a competitor, I'll just mainly stay with just like competing, and teaching is just like time off, or you need to pay bills or something or whatever. Like if I'm going to be a competitor, then I'll just make my bills somewhere else or whatever. And but man, once I started teaching and started figuring out how much that was teaching me, I was like, whoa, this is like the main way that you learn, like, is to teach.
Yes.
You know, like this is the main way. Like that switched me so much. And teaching seminars now and stuff has taught me so much. Oh my gosh. And so now I'm addicted to it. I really like it.
Yeah. Like, if you want to know what you're doing, try to show someone else.
Yeah, if you can
and
explain
you'll
to
have to
somebody
figure it
else.
out.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get it, even if you don't figure it out right there, you'll have a better understanding of what you do.
Because we're already people that like explaining stuff to people or saying, or
I
like
want
we do
people
it
to
in
know
our
how
speech.
smart I
We do
am,
it
man.
in our speech anyway. We're good at that. But this is we're explaining it into a body, like the way it works with the body. So it's such an interesting thing, in a sense, because you're trying to get it into their body. Like, so how can you get that in there? So it's past words, in that way is what I mean. So we get to teach an interesting thing.
Well, it's the only thing that I know of that can, or the only art that I know of that can only be taught by feel.
Right.
Like,
right. Exactly.
You can only understand what I'm saying if you feel me.
That's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah.
Feel me?
Like, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And we can understand each other.
You're
but you won't know me.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say until you feel what I'm trying to say. It's the only thing like that I know of.
I know that's. I think that should be a bigger slogan for jiu-jitsu. Is you have to feel it. You have to feel it.
Well, that's what the old guys are saying. But many in the community have criticized the old guys. They're selling snake oil, the invisible jiu-jitsu stuff, and like that stuff's real. Like that is jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It can't be taught on video.
But
it's impossible.
Right. Because it's
I'll become as good as I can at conveying the information to you.
It's like what you're showing with the judo
I'll get
stuff.
good.
Yeah.
Exactly, dude.
Because the way that he can't
that can
teach
only
that
be
to you.
felt.
He can't
It's
teach
impossible.
that because it's literally in his body. He's got his body and reaction to everything.
Dude,
the
that's
way
what
it's supposed
Eddie
to
keeps
be,
saying when he's talking about it has to be in your DNA.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it is you.
Yeah.
Like, this move, you don't do this move. The move does you, man. Like,
That's true.
the move is using you. That's what your DNA is.
That's so Eddie. Like, because his stuff is his freaking DNA. And he's got this one path that's you think about people and how much do you have a path that's you would say is my DNA. It's not as much as your DNA as it is to Eddie and his.
Yes.
And that's the level of DNA he has it in the sense of his past. So I think that's a good way to think about it in the sense of like, man, I need to have that kind of DNA. And I do have a pretty straight DNA, and that's what we're always feeling out. We're feeling out our holes in the DNA structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got these parts of our DNA. That's a cool way to think about it, DNA structure.
That's Eddie Bravo.
That'll help me.
Yeah.
I'll put that more that way. Because that's the thing. That's what we're trying to get to is one consistent circle, and we feel like, damn, we're done. Like in the sense of like, I have the path all the way through. We'll never be done. Of course, we'll be working on things, but like guys like, for example, like Machado, he's got a path that has not changed for like 20 years. Like maybe add some things at the end of the ropes or whatever, but the main path hasn't changed in forever. And so he found something, a consistent one game, consistent through, and there's different versions of that one game. So it's like kind of what we're all, I think, in between us, like we're usually still working on in-betweens of ours. We're still figuring out that one rope.
Yeah.
We can go, okay, now I'm going to march down this for the next. It hasn't, basically I think we just hit breaking lines. That's the only thing that changed our DNA. We think it's like, we think we got maybe, a lot of us know that we haven't found it yet. We're still working in the middle. But I just mean that that's an interesting point once you get to that where you've been like a certain amount of years, where you feel like, nothing's changed in my game. Because a lot of these guys are like that, like John Jock is, in a sense. And Eddie
that's
is.
crazy. Even just watching Eddie's rubber guard, though, how much it's changed, just his rubber guard.
Yeah.
So it does change.
It does change.
But the feel never, the DNA just deepens. The heart is the same, I guess.
Yeah, the ends of the ropes, really.
The heart is, he's coming from the same spot.
Yeah, it's still
maybe
the
a
same.
bit of a different movement with his hand or a different movement with his leg, but the feeling is deeper and better, always.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works. Okay.
So, I love you, Michael Plaster.
All right, later, Brandon.
See you guys.
Peace, man. See you soon.